morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about tax on the poor, an important editorial because it is related to economy. Not only that, it is related to Indian economy and related to this editorial is all about inflation, especially related to food items and the stand taken by the center, measures taken by the center. A very useful editorial. And today you're going to work on spot the errors when it comes to practice questions based on exam topics. No sound. How come? Give me a second. Good morning to all and welcome to the session. Am I audible now? I want you guys to respond. Now it should be perfect. I will wait for your response. No, wait for a few seconds. That's very good. So, once again, good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about inflation. It starts with tax on the poor. It's about inflation, especially related to the food items and also the measures taken by the center. I've been telling you guys any editorial related to economy, very important. That too, Indian economy, very important. Besides the editorial analysis and vocabulary, today you're going to work on when it comes to practice questions based on exam topics. You're going to work on spot the errors, para jumble, close test, and misspelt or inappropriate words. And today's editorial is an important editorial. One of the reasons there are a lot of words you can learn from this editorial. Some of the words we have got for the first time. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. The first one, inflation. I'm sure you guys know the word inflation, part of speech noun, a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. The purchasing power comes down, the prices, general increase in prices, we use the term inflation. Proportionate, part of speech adjective, proportionately adverb, agreeing in amount, magnitude, or degree, to be at the same level. It could be amount, magnitude, or degree. Sobering, sober has two or three meanings. One goes with the drinks. After drinking, someone is not intoxicated, someone is cool. Then we use the word sober. But here it has a different meaning altogether. Sobering, part of speech adjective, creating a more serious or sensible mood. Creating a more serious or sensible mood. Induce, part of speech verb. Even this has two or three meanings. In this context, it means succeed in persuading or leading someone to do something. Succeed in persuading or leading someone to do something. Slump goes with business, part of speech noun. Undergo a sudden, severe, or prolonged fall in price, value, or amount. Sometimes what happens, business, there's no business. Then we say there's a slump in the market. That's an important word. Bear, bore. There's an important word. If you take the word bear, it could be a noun, it could be a verb. As a verb, it has many meanings, but in this context, it means endure an ordeal or difficulty or a problem, experience a problem. Staple, part of speech adjective. Generally, it goes with food. Staple food, part of speech adjective. A chief product of business or farming of a place. As I said, generally it goes with farming. Staple food. Surge, you have got so many times. Part of speech verb. Sudden increase. Sudden increase in something. Also, sudden forward movement. Undershoot, we have got for the first time. Please remember, whenever you come across new words, you have to spend some time and you have to associate, or you have to make your own examples. Only then you will be able to remember. So, undershoot falls short of a point or target. You have a target, you fall short, then we use undershoot. Roiling, we have got for the first time. Part of speech verb, to cause something to stop working in the usual or expected way. Stop something to work, stop something from working, or stop something functioning properly in the usual or expected way. Reassure, we have got many a time. Say or do something to remove the doubts or fears. Reassure someone or something. Curb, an important word, though we have got a few times. A check or restraint on something, curbs on something. Uptick, it goes with economy. We have got a few times. Part of speech noun, a small increase or slight upward trend. In this context, small increase, not substantial increase, small increase. Assert, an important word, assertive. Assert means part of speech verb, state a fact or belief confidently and forcefully. Assertive, adjective, being firm. Downplay, part of speech verb, make something appear less important than it really is. Something is important, but you try to make it appear less important, then we use the word downplay. Transient, an important word, part of speech adjective, lasting only for a short time. Impermanent, something that is temporary, we use the word transient. Tame, usually it goes with animals. If you take animals, we have domestic animals, we have wild animals. Domestic animals have been tamed, means what? Control. Revive, we have got many a time. Part of speech verb. Restore to life or consciousness. Bring back the original standards. Tread, we have got many a time. To put your foot on something, tread on something. Verb. Heed, an important word. Pay attention to or take notice of. Usually it goes with heed to someone's advice. So that is a combination. Dictum, a formal pronouncement from an authoritative source, one meaning. A short statement that expresses a general truth or principle. In this context, the second meaning. Dictum, you can also think of words like proverb, adage, all these words. Reiterate, part of speech verb, say something again or a number of times for emphasis, to emphasize something. Hedge, a way of protecting oneself against financial loss or other adverse circumstances. Hedge also means fence, another meaning. These are the words, and some of these words we have got for the first time, important. You have to spend some time and you have to make your own examples. Only then you will be able to remember. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? And this editorial is important. Besides, it is related to economy. A lot of words are there. Grammar point of view also, there's something to learn. Tax on the poor. Here, the poor. The word poor, actually, it is an adjective. But in English, we can use adjectives as nouns. But there are two things you have to remember when you use an adjective as a noun. Here it has been used as a noun. When we use an adjective as a noun, we have to use a definite article the, and also we have to use a verb in the plural form. Based on that, they have given many a time questions. Here, the poor are usually helpless. The and plural verb, both you have to remember, because here the poor, it is not an adjective. It has been used as a noun. All the poor people together. What is the main idea of this editorial? Inflation disproportionately affects the economically weaker sections. Here again, there is something so easy to understand. This editorial is more based on statistical data. Comprehension point of view, not that difficult, but you have to learn a lot of words. You have to recollect something related to grammar. That way, it is very useful. Here, inflation, a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing power or value of money. Proportionate, to be at the same level, agreeing in amount, magnitude, or degree. What is opposite? Disproportionate. And again, you have to recollect here whatever is important from grammar point of view. I'll put a star mark. Here we have affect. Affect is a verb. Effect is a verb as well as a noun, but generally we use effect, EFF, as a noun, affect as a verb. This difference you have to recollect. Economically weaker sections. When it comes to mains descriptive English, you have to use certain words, and we call those words power words. When you write an essay, when you write a letter, a formal letter, do remember they expect you to use important words, power words. Here, this is an important expression. For this, you can also think of economically weaker sections, uh, backward communities, and also downtrodden people. There are three expressions: downtrodden people, economically weaker sections, and backward communities. These, if you use in the essay, definitely you will get good marks. The latest retail inflation, as I said, this is all about inflation. The latest retail inflation data, again, you have to recollect data, datum singular, data plural. But data can also be used as a collective noun. When we use the word data as a collective noun, we have to use a singular verb. The latest retail inflation data from the National Statistical Office is a sobering reminder, an important word because it has two different meanings. And in the exam, prelims or mains, the trend, they may give a word with three or four meanings. Then you have to match. And that way, this is an important word because there are two different meanings. One meaning goes with drinking. After drinking, not intoxicated, we use the word sober. But here, sobering means it goes with a particular mood, creating a more serious or sensible mood. Sobering reminder that accelerating price gains still remain the single biggest challenge to policymakers as they try to steer Asia's third largest economy to a more durable recovery from the pandemic induced slump. The entire sentence is like a paragraph. Again, you have to remember in the exam also, you may come across questions which are lengthy, and each question may look like a paragraph. Then, two things you have to remember: one, you have to read meticulously once or twice, and also you have to isolate the phrases and clauses. If you have that ability, then you can spot the error. The latest retail inflation data from where? From the National Statistical Office is a sobering reminder. This is the main subject verb agreement, that reminder of what? That accelerating price gains still remain the single biggest challenge to policymakers. So this is all about inflation. Obviously, you have to think in terms of accelerating price gains, and that is the biggest challenge to policymakers as they try to steer, I should have brought it in green, means to direct in this context. You all know the word steering. So based on that, steer means what? Direct Asia's third largest economy to a more durable recovery. Pandemic made a devastating impact. Now economies are being revived or recovered to a more durable, lasting for a long time recovery from the pandemic induced slump. There are two words over here: induced and slump. Induced has got two or three meanings: induced pain, one meaning; induce fear, another combination, that means instill. But here induce means succeed in persuading or leading someone to do something, a different meaning altogether. And pandemic induced means forced, imposed. Slump goes with business, it's a business term. There's a slump in the market, a regular expression. What does it mean? Undergo a sudden, severe, or prolonged fall in price, value, or amount. Sometimes what happens, there's no business. Then we use the expression, we use a word, there's a slump in the market. Inflation based on the Consumer Price Index, CPI, quickened in August to a provisional 7% from 6.7% in July. That means there's an increase. as a pace means speed, pace of gains in food prices as measured by the Consumer Food Price Index. Accelerate means to speed up by a sizable 93 basis points to 7.62% from July's 6.69%. As I said, this is all about statistical data. You have to look at the figures. And do remember, in the exam, if at all you get a passage based on statistical data, whenever you come across data, statistical data, you have to remember. And if at all there's a question, go there, cross check, and try to answer. They may change the figures. As I said, this is all about increase. And rural consumers, based on this increase in prices or inflation, who had the negative impact, who had to face the impact? And rural consumers bore a disproportionately higher burden. This is the main idea of the editorial. But there's one important word over here, bore. It is a past form of bear. Bear, bore. Bore means what? Endure an ordeal or difficulty or a problem. Bore a disproportionately higher burden with month on month, an important expression, month on month changes in both food prices and overall inflation appreciably greater at 0.88% and 0.57% respectively, compared with the 0.50% and 0.46% rates of urban inflation. So here it's a comparison between urban inflation and rural inflation. And here, based on this text, you can make out the rural consumers had to bear the brunt of it. Means what? They had to bear the burden, face the problem in this context. Of particular concern, this is again an important expression. Of particular concern is that inflation in the prices of cereals. This editorial talks about is about inflation, especially related to food items. In the prices of cereals, staple grains, there's one important word here, staple food, staple grains. What does it mean? A chief product of business or farming, but in this context, farming, not related to business, of a place. Staple grains in every household surged to a 9.57%. Surge we have got many a time. Means what? Sudden increase, one meaning. Another meaning, sudden forward movement to 9.57% from the preceding month's 6.9%. Substantial improvement, 6.9% rate. Month on month, the pace was a disconcerting, means disappointing 2.4%. With Kharif sowing of rice this year undershooting, we have got this for the first time. Undershooting means failing to reach a target, fall short. Here it should have been F, fall short of a point or target. With Kharif sowing of rice this year undershooting last year's acreage and uneven distribution of rainfall further roiling the crop's production picture. We have got this for the first time. Roil means roiling, to cause something to stop working in the usual or expected way, uh, damaging something or stopping something, making a negative impact. Roiling the crop's production picture, the outlook for inflation in this heavyweight food category remains far from reassuring. Based on this, because the rainfall further roiling, stopping or damaging the crop's production picture, the outlook for inflation in this heavyweight food category remains far from reassuring. Means what? It is not reassuring. What is the meaning of the word reassure? Say or do something to remove the doubts or fears. So something negative, not positive. The center's recent imposition of tariff and other curbs on export of non-basmati rice notwithstanding, not considering, notwithstanding means what? Not considering. Here it talks about the inflation in this heavyweight food category or sector remains far from reassuring. The center's recent imposition of tariff, impose means to force upon, of tariff and other curbs. Curb, an important word, a check or restraint on something. On export of non basmati rice, notwithstanding, not considering. In fact, 8 of the 12 food items that combine to constitute the food and beverages category of the CPI saw sequential price upticks. Again, this talks about inflation, price rise, and related to the food industry. Uptick, an important word, a small increase or slight upward trend. And to substantiate that, with vegetables 13.2% year on year and 2.5% month on month, and dairy 6.39% and 0.9% respectively. All statistical data being two other vital foods that contributed to the faster inflation. Now, the second part of the editorial is all about what the center says about this and what measures have been taken by the center. The finance ministry was quick to assert an important word. What does it mean? State a fact or belief confidently and forcefully. The finance ministry was quick to assert that the increase in headline inflation was moderate, not too much, moderate, even as it sought to downplay the significance of food price pressures by terming food and fuel prices as transient components. Center said or asserted this headline inflation is only moderate, that is one thing, and it tried to downplay. There's one important word, downplay. Downplay means what? Make something appear less important than it really is. Downplay the significance, importance of food price pressures by terming. How did they try to downplay? They tried to term food and fuel prices as transient components. Transient, one important word. What does it mean? Temporary, lasting only for a short time, impermanent. So, not something permanent, temporary. So, that way they try to downplay the importance of food price pressures by terming food and fuel prices as transient components. It also pointed to the steps by the government to cool prices. This is like justification and what exactly the center has done. It also pointed to the steps by the government to cool prices that could help tame inflation. There's one word here, tame. Tame usually goes with animals. We have domestic animals, we have wild animals. What are these domestic animals? They have been tamed. Tame means control. And here, tame inflation means what? Control inflation in the coming weeks. And it cited oils and fats and pulses as two items where prices had begun to ease in response to the center steps. Center has taken some steps, and based on those steps, the center says it cited means quoted oils and fats and pulses as two items where prices had began to ease means come down in response to the center steps, measures taken by the center, and the impact. However, the prices of pulses and products quickened by 1.7% month on month, with the pace of trailing only that of sequential inflation in spices, cereals, and vegetables. This again talks about what is happening when it comes to pulses and food items. However, contrasting information, the prices of pulses and products quickened by 1.7% month on month, with the pace trailing only. Trail here means be behind, only that of sequential inflation in spices, cereals, and vegetables. Services categories including housing, health, education, recreation, and personal care too witnessed sequential increases in price gains as these services saw demand gradually revive. When there's demand for something, obviously the prices go up. And there's one word over here, revive means what? Bring back the original standards or restore to life or consciousness. The challenge going forward would be for providers to tread carefully. So, what is the challenge here? The challenge going forward, moving forward, would be for providers to tread carefully. Tread means to step on something, to put your foot on something carefully so as not to yet again depress consumption by raising prices too quickly. If the prices are raised too quickly, then consumption may take a beating. That means people won't be able to purchase. Purchasing ability comes down. So that should not be done too quickly. That's what the sentence says. How does the editorial end? Policymakers would do well to heed the dictum, and there are four words you have to know here. Heed means pay attention to, or listen to, or take notice of. To heed to the dictum. Dictum means a popular saying, adage, proverb. One meaning, a short statement that expresses a general truth or principle. Another meaning, a formal pronouncement, statement from an authoritative source. But here it is a second meaning. Policymakers would do well to heed the dictum of a former RBI governor who never tired of reiterating. Reiterate means what? Say something repeatedly to emphasize a particular point. That containing, here contain means control. Containing the buildup of price pressures is the best anti-poverty program. When it comes to anti-poverty program, what is the best strategy? Containing or controlling the buildup of price pressures. That is the best thing to do, according to RBA, former RBI governor, and policy makers would do well to heed the dictum. That is the opinion of the the one who has written this editorial. The policy makers would do well to heed the dictum. And two important words. Containing the buildup of price pressures is the best anti-poverty program, as the poor have no edge against inflation. Here, the poor, plural verb, have no hedge. Hedge has got two different meanings. One meaning, hedge means a fence, but here, a way of protecting oneself against financial loss or other adverse circumstances. Here, what is adverse circumstance? Inflation. Hedge against inflation. So that's all about this editorial. Any editorial related to Indian economy, very important. You may get as a passage. Now let us go to editorial. Based on this editorial, possible questions. First one, what is this editorial about? Second one, what is a sobering reminder that accelerating price gains still remain the single biggest challenge? So many keywords, you can quickly navigate, locate, and write the answer. Who bore a disproportionately higher burden? Keywords, again, easy to locate. Where does the outlook for inflation remains far from reassuring? Somewhere it remains far from reassuring. Where does it? Where does the outlook for inflation remains? You have to answer based on the keywords. What are the two items where prices had begun to ease in response to the center steps? There are two items. They have responded positively based on the center steps. You have to list out those two items. Now let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. I have brought 20 questions, 5 based on error location, 5 based on misspelled or inappropriate words, and 5 based on cloze test, 5 based on para jumble. Now let us start with the first 5 questions related to error location. Please read the first one and try to spot the error. If you were left alone to live in a forest, what will you do? Question number 1. If you were left alone to live in a forest, what will you do? Here, whenever you come across the word if, you have to become alert and you have to think of conditional sentences. You have to think of wishes and desires, how to express. This is something like imaginary situation. Where is the error? No one has responded. Should not. Yes, very good. Here, if you were left alone, that is imagination, imaginary. There are two things you have to remember in this sentence pattern. One, whatever the subject, even third person singular, irrespective of the subject, we have to use a primary auxiliary to be in the past plural form, were. If you were left alone to live in a forest, what would you do? Here, two words are very important. One is were, the other one would. You can't afford to forget. Based on that, there is an error in D. What will you do is not correct. What would you do is correct. An important question. Conditionals are very important from the exam point of view. She wondered that what would be the next move of her foes means enemies, who had vowed to see her dislodged from power. Now, where is the error? This is also an easy one, not that difficult. You don't have to read the entire sentence, in fact, if you are very confident. She wondered that what would be the next move. Very good. She wondered what would be the next. Here we don't have to use the word that. That goes with indirect speech statements. Here she wondered. We don't have to use the word that. Redundancy. She wondered what would be the next move of her foes or enemies. So here, what is this question about? Redundancy. Superfluous. We don't have to use the word that. There is an error in the first part. Exactly. Let us go to question number 3. The nation should be grateful to the armed forces for protecting them. The nation should be grateful to the armed forces for protecting them. Where is the error? One reading, you should be able to spot the error, but this is a little tricky. If you are not attentive, you are not alert, you don't read the sentence meticulously, it would be difficult for you to spot the error. You may think, no error. No one has responded. Question number 3. Very good, Manoj. I appreciate that. What is the subject of this sentence? The nation. The nation, singular, should be grateful to the armed forces for protecting. Singular, we cannot use a plural pronoun. What is a singular pronoun? It. And here, singular, it has to be singular. If you ask me, sir, what is this question about? This question is about an important dimension, subject pronoun. Subject pronoun agreement. What is this about? Subject pronoun agreement. Subject is nation, singular. Then we have to use a singular pronoun, it, not them. If you read casually, you won't be able to spot the error. For the past 10 years, it has been his habit to go to the bed at 9 p.m. every day. When we write every day two separate words, it's an adverb. When we write every day one word, it is an adjective. Do remember. Everyday publication, it is one word every day. He does something every day, two separate words, it is an adverb. Where is the error? For the past 10 years, whenever you come across phrases like for 10 years, for the last 10 years, for the past 10 years, you have to think of two tenses. One present perfect, the other one present perfect continuous. But here, present perfect is a right tense. It has been, nothing wrong. This is present perfect tense. His habit to go to the bed at 9 p.m. every day. Where is the error? No, there is an error, and it is not in the second part. No, nothing wrong. It has been his habit. Nothing wrong. Which tense is this? Present perfect. And what is the sentence pattern that goes with present perfect? Subject, have or has, verb, past participle form. Here, the verb is a primary auxiliary to be, past participle form. No, no, you guys haven't got. There's an error in the third part. What is it? To go to the bed. This is a standard phrase. We should not use a definite article the. What is a standard phrase? Go to bed. Go to bed. He goes to bed. No, you cannot use present tense. What is the reason? For the past 10 years, that means past to present. That is not the error. Where is the error? Third part. What is wrong with the third part? Go to the bed is not correct. There's a standard phrase, go to bed. I go to bed at so and so time. What time do you go to bed? This question is based on a standard phrase, or I would say standard expression. Standard expression, go to bed. Question number 5. To the employees who worked very hard for the company, the news was absolute disappointing. Question of the day. No, phrases related questions are not easy. Phrases, standard expressions, not easy to answer. What is the reason? You have to get exposed to the language. When you get exposed to the language, you can answer. Then, if you ask the question, sir, how can we get exposed to the language? You have to read a lot. And don't ask me what to read, you all know. To the employees who worked very hard for the company, the news was absolute is not correct. Here we have to say absolutely. Absolute is an adjective, not correct. We have to use adverb. What is the adverb form? Is a form of this word. Absolutely, absolutely disappointing. 5 questions. I hope you guys have got all the 5 correct. Now let us go to misspelt or inappropriate words. Usually, prelims level, they give questions based on misspelt or inappropriate. Out of 5 questions, easy to answer 3 of them. 2 made trouble, but always try to get all the 5 questions right if you're dealing with misspelt or inappropriate words. Raising prices of food grains will have an adverse impact on developing countries. Very good. Here you don't have to go raising prices. No, prices are going up means what? Rising. Here we have to use rising prices. Based on this question, you have to recollect this is based on confusing verbs. What are the 2 verbs that confuse? One is arise, arose, arisen. The other one, raise, raised, raised. Arise, rose, risen. It is an intransitive verb and also irregular verb. Raise, raised, raised. That is a transitive verb and also a regular verb. This difference, if you know, you can easily answer effortlessly. Now let us go to question number 7. To deal efficiently with an emergency, prompt action is a must. To deal efficiently with an emergency, prompt action is a must. Where is the error? Whenever you read a sentence, you have to consider first here the 4 words and also the context and the complete sentence. Make sure everything is perfect. No one has responded. Question number 7. To deal, very good. Who is this? Nivedita. All correct. To deal efficiently, nothing wrong. With an emergency, we use that regularly. Prompt action, singular, is a must. This is again a standard expression. Based on that, everything is perfect. Answer is the 5th option. All correct. Something is a must. The new firm has success in achieving high growth rate in spite of facing several problems. Very good. That demands a lot of confidence to choose the 5th option. What is the 5th option? All correct. Please go to question number 8. The new firm has success in achieving high growth rate in spite of facing several problems. This is a little difficult. As I said, misspelled or inappropriate words, out of 5 questions, 3 easy to answer, 2 made trouble. This is a bit difficult. Very good. Who is this? Shyam. The new firm has, you have a helping verb. This has can go with present tense. It can also go with present perfect or present perfect continuous. But based on the context, you have to decide whether it is present or present perfect. Here it is not present. It is not about possession. It is present perfect. Any perfect tense, the verb should be in past participle form. Based on that, has succeeded, has succeeded in achieving something. This question is about word forms. Quite often they ask questions based on word forms. If you know the word forms, easy to answer. Otherwise, you may think the firm has success. It looks like no problem, nothing wrong, but it is not correct. We have to say succeeded. We have to use a verb in the past participle form. Question number 9. This is again very difficult, not at all easy. India and China on Tuesday carried out verification to confirm withdrawal of troops from patrolling point PP-15 in the Gogra hot spring area of eastern Ladakh. Not easy. A lengthy sentence, and some of the words may trouble, so you got to read carefully. India and China on Tuesday carried out verification. Carried out what? Verification. Noun, nothing wrong. Why? To confirm withdrawal of, no problem. Troops from patrolling point, nothing wrong with this. Perfect. In the Gogra hot spring, this is a bit difficult, that's what I said. No, no, nothing wrong with the first one, second one, third one. Hot spring, hot springs. It can be singular, it can be plural. But this particular thing, Gogra hot, it's always in the plural form. So here, where is the error? Fourth part. It is not hot spring. Here we have to say hot springs. Hot springs, spots from where water, hot water oozes out or comes out. Hot springs is the right word. You have to use a plural form, not the singular form. Not easy, to be very frank. Question number 10. This is again, if you know a particular rule, you can spot the error. Otherwise, not possible. Two-thirds of the budget have been spent on modernizing the institute. A lot of money, two-thirds of the budget. Two-thirds is a subject, it's a fraction, nothing wrong. And after that, there's a phrase of the budget. If the subject is a fraction, then there's a rule. What is that rule? This fraction is followed by a phrase. What is a phrase here? Of the budget. In this phrase, we have a noun. What is a noun? Budget. And the verb agrees with the noun in the phrase. Budget singular, then we cannot use a plural verb. We have to use the singular verb. Has been spent. The verb agrees with the noun in the phrase that follows the subject, which is a fraction. An important rule. In fact, 2017 SBI, they gave a question based on this particular rule, an important one, but they gave about corals, coral reefs, a lengthy sentence. Many students could not answer the question. Here, the sentence is not that long, but they gave a lengthy sentence about coral reefs based on the same rule. What is the rule here? If the subject is a fraction, it is usually followed by a phrase, and the verb agrees with the noun in that particular phrase. That you have to remember. Now we have a cloze test. Easy, not that difficult to begin with. Easy to difficult, simple to complex. This is my approach. Systematic. Read, Jack went to work for a farmer and a penny, collected a penny, earned a penny, had a penny, accumulated a penny, make a penny. What is the answer? Contextual awareness. Do remember cloze test. Three things play a role. One, you got to be good at English grammar. Second, you got to be good at vocabulary. Third, and the most important, you have to be good at contextual awareness. If you understand the context, you can get the right word. No, it is not correct. Here, he went to work. When you work, you earn money. That is a contextual awareness. What is the key for you? Went to work to a farmer or for a farmer. That is actual text given in one exam. Earn a penny. Here, not collecting, not had, not accumulated, not make. Grammar also you have to consider. So what is the answer? Jack went to work to a farmer and earned a penny. First, now it is, see, if you see it in bold, you have to look at that part. But while returning home, he dropped it in a brook. At home, his mother, him. He dropped the money. Obviously, what is contextual awareness? His mother must have been very angry. She must have scolded. Simple as that. So, because he dropped it in a brook, he lost that. Intentionally, he did it. Then she cannot praise, she cannot compliment. Here, you have to recollect the difference between compliment I, compliment E. Compliment means to praise, and COMPLEMENT to complete something. We need a negative word. So, context is negative. His mother scolded him. Lambast also means the same, attack, but grammatically this is not correct. Lambasted would have been correct. Grammar also you have to consider. Answer is scolded. The next day he worked for a cow keeper who him a jar of milk. Again, work. After working for someone, you get something. So what has he got? The next day he worked for a cowkeeper who sold him, no. Who provided him, no. Who made him, no. Who gave him a jar of milk. Issue does not go with the context. The cowkeeper gave him a jar of milk. Easy to answer. She told him that, I think something is missing here. Jack tried to put the jar of milk in his pocket and spilled it everywhere. Once again, his mother rebuked him. Rebuke means scold, reprimand, rebuke, scold, chide. All these words you have to recollect. She told him that he should have carried it on his shoulders. The next day, Jack was given a donkey. Grammatically not correct. Had it been provided, who is this Ravi Teja? Had it been provided, it would have been right. That's why I said you have to consider grammar, vocabulary, contextual awareness. This goes into the past. The next day he worked for a cowkeeper who gave him, who provided him with. Provided with would have been correct. But grammatically, you cannot use this verb form. I hope you got it. Grammar is also important. He carried the donkey on his shoulders. Now the king had a daughter who never laughed. 14. Detecting Jack carrying the donkey on his shoulders. Detecting, no. Seeing, hold that one. Watching, you can hold that also. Recognizing, no. Sawing, no. So seeing or watching, here we have to use seeing Jack carrying the donkey on his shoulders. She, very good. Answer is Tapa, seeing. First one to respond. Seeing Jack carrying the donkey on his shoulders, she start laughing. Stop laughing. Stopped is not correct. Commence, initiated. Here, either she start, you cannot use the verb should be in the past form. She began laughing for the first time. She began. We need the verb in the past form. Seeing Jack carrying the donkey on his shoulders, she began laughing for the first time. Here, laughing is a noun. She began what? Laughing for the first time. Now, this is a para jumble from the Economist magazine. So try to get it right. Usually, SBI, they take articles from the Economist magazine, they give us passages, they use for Cloze Test, they also use for para jumble. So look at it very carefully, try to get the correct order, but start with elimination. Employers created 5,28,000 jobs in July, many more than had been expected. You cannot decide, hold that one. America's annual rate of inflation measured by the consumer price index, you cannot decide, hold that one. The average price of gallon of car fuel is now. Now this cannot be the first one. The economy is also cooling, cannot be the first one. Dropped, there is no subject, cannot be the first one. The labor market is still red hot, however. Cannot be the first one. First one has to be either A or B. So what is the first sentence over here? You have to go through all the parts very carefully, only then you will be able to. Very good. Who is this? GK and Bhardwaj. B is the first one. America's annual rate of inflation measured by the consumer price index. Second one is easy because the sentence is incomplete. There is no verb. You have to look for a verb, the part that begins with a verb. America's annual rate of inflation measured by price index. Rate of inflation, what is the continuation of that? B is the first one. Second one is easy. Rate of inflation dropped. Very good. Who is this? Shyam. Dropped to 8.5%. That is a continuation. BE. Dropped to 8.5% in July from 9.1% in June. Petrol prices explain the dip. This is a clue for you for the third sentence. What is the third sentence? In the second sentence, there is a clue for you. The word dip. Dip means what? To go down. Very good. Who is this? Bharadwaj. It talks about petrol prices explain the dip. Based on that continuation, the average price of a gallon of car fuel is now just under $4. In mid-June, it was around $5. Based on that, the answer here, B is C. Very good. I appreciate that. What is the fourth one? If you get the fourth one, 5 and 6 are very easy. No, D is not the third one. C is the third one. Here it talks about dropping, inflation dropping, and more information. The economy is also cooling. Is also cooling. It talks about fuel prices. Now it talks about the economy. Based on that, B is C. No, not A. D is the one. The economy is also cooling, shrinking by 0.9% at an annual rate in the second quarter after a contraction of 1.6 in the first. Here it talks about dropped, cooling, positive. Then you have to look for contrasting information. Where is the contrasting word? However, the labor market is still red hot. However, F, and the last one, continuation of that. Employers created 528,000 jobs in July, many more than had been expected. So, what is the correct order? BEC one group, then more information, the economy in general, D, FA one pair, more jobs, and labor market is still red hot. Red hot means exciting. However, and to substantiate that, employers created 528,000 jobs. I hope you guys got it. If you have got this right, you should be very happy. Now let us go to, we are running out of time. We have 6 minutes. Editorial vocabulary. Try to respond quickly. Sobering, part of speech, adjective. What does it mean? Creating a more serious mood. Answer is C. Induce has two different meanings. One, to impose, to inject. The other one, in this context, succeed in persuading to do something. Answer is, it's a verb. F is the answer. Slump, part of speech, noun, a business term. Slump in the market. Undergo a sudden fall in price. Answer is I. Bear, bore. It is a past form of bear. It has many meanings, but in this context, editorial context, endure an ordeal or difficulty. E is the answer. Experience a problem. Staple adjective. Staple food, staple grains, staple items. Usually it goes with food items. Chief product of farming of a particular place. If you take South India, what is a staple food? Rice. If you go to North India, what is a staple food? Wheat. We use the terms we use the term for rice and wheat. Staple. Answer is A. Undershoot. We have got for the first time. Fall short of a target. Fall short of a target. D is the answer. New words you have to be careful. And roiling. Roiling. This is also a new word. Cause something stop working. Stop the progress of something. Answer is J. J is the answer. Curb. It's a regular verb. Check on something. Check or restraint on something. B. Uptick. Noun. An important word. A small increase. Upward movement. Answer is G. Heed. Verb means what? Pay attention to or listen to someone, notice something. H. That's all about editorial vocabulary and analysis plus practice questions. Hope you guys have got enriched. Have a nice day. I will see you guys tomorrow.